I set out on a solo hiking trip through the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, eager to explore the untamed wilderness. As the sun began to set, I found a suitable spot to set up my tent and settled in for the night. But as I drifted off to sleep, I was awakened by an eerie sound, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. I cautiously peered outside my tent, but saw nothing in the darkness. As I tried to calm myself, I heard the sound again, louder this time. I reached for my flashlight and stepped outside, shining the beam into the surrounding trees. And that's when I saw it. A strange, otherworldly creature unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It stood on two legs, towering over me with a long, sinewy body covered in matted fur. Its eyes glowed like fire, and its teeth were razor-sharp. I froze, unsure of what to do as the creature slowly approached me, its growls growing louder and more menacing. I knew I had to act quickly if I wanted to survive. Without thinking, I grabbed a nearby rock and hurled it at the creature, hoping to distract it. To my surprise, the creature recoiled and let out a howl of pain, giving me enough time to make a run for it. I sprinted through the forest, my heart pounding in my chest as I heard the creature's footsteps closing in behind me. But just when I thought all was lost, I stumbled upon a small cave hidden in the underbrush. Without hesitation, I ducked inside and crouched down, trying to make myself as small as possible. The creature soon appeared at the mouth of the cave, snarling and sniffing the air. I held my breath, hoping against hope that it wouldn't find me. But then something strange happened. The creature suddenly seemed to lose interest, turning and bounding away into the darkness. I sat there in the cave, trembling with fear and confusion. What was that thing? Was it a cryptid? Some kind of supernatural creature that lurked in the forests? I knew I couldn't stay in the cave forever, so I gathered my courage and cautiously made my way back to my campsite. The rest of the night was a blur of restless sleep and paranoid vigilance, but eventually the sun rose and I knew it was time to leave. As I hiked back to civilization, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary. Despite the terror and danger I had faced, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the mystery and magic of the natural world. And so I vowed to continue my exploration of the unknown, seeking out more strange and wondrous encounters with the supernatural. For I had learned that even in the darkest and most terrifying places, there is always a glimmer of magic and wonder waiting to be discovered. As I left the forest and back into civilization, I knew that I could never forget the incredible experience that I had just had. I felt changed, as if the encounter with the supernatural creature had left a permanent mark on me. For days after my encounter, I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen. I scoured books and online forums trying to find any information that could shed light on the strange cryptid that had crossed my path. But despite my best efforts, I couldn't find any concrete answers. The creature seemed to defy explanation, existing only in the realm of the supernatural. I had to accept that there were some mysteries that would remain unsolved, but that didn't stop me from continuing my adventures, seeking out new and exciting encounters with the unknown. Over the years, I had many more brushes with the supernatural, from encountering ghostly apparitions to witnessing strange lights in the sky. Each encounter left me more fascinated and in awe of the incredible power and mystery of the universe. And although I never did see the strange cryptid again, its memory continued to haunt me, reminding me of the incredible possibilities that lay beyond our mundane world. Now, as I sit here writing this, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the incredible experiences that I've had. Although the supernatural can be terrifying and unpredictable, it is also full of wonder and magic, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek it out. And so I encourage anyone reading this, don't be afraid to venture into the unknown, to explore the strange and wonderful corners of our world. Who knows what incredible discoveries you might make, what secrets you might uncover. For the supernatural is all around us, waiting to be explored and discovered, and with each step we take, we bring ourselves one step closer to the mysteries that lie beyond. I was an avid hiker, and Yellowstone National Park was one of my favorite places to explore. I had hiked the trails countless times before, but on this particular day, I stumbled upon something I never thought possible. As I was making my way through a dense section of the forest, I heard a rustling in the bushes. At first, I thought it was a deer or a bear, but as I got closer, I saw something that made me freeze in my tracks. There, standing in front of me, was a small creature that looked like a miniature version of Bigfoot. It was about 3 feet tall, covered in shaggy brown fur, and had a human-like face. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had heard stories of Bigfoot sightings in the park, but I never thought I would actually come face to face with one. The creature didn't seem to be scared of me at all. In fact, it started to walk towards me as if it wanted to say hello. I slowly extended my hand, not knowing if it was safe to touch it. To my surprise, the creature reached out its hand and shook mine, almost like it was greeting me. I spent the next few hours with the creature, taking pictures and trying to communicate with it. It seemed to understand some of what I was saying, but it didn't speak any recognizable language. It made a series of grunts and whistles that sounded almost musical. As the sun started to set, I knew I had to make my way back to camp. I said goodbye to the creature and started to walk away, but it followed me. I didn't want to leave it alone in the forest, so I let it come with me. That night, I made a makeshift bed for the creature in my tent. It seemed to be comfortable and fell asleep quickly. I, on the other hand, couldn't sleep at all. My mind was racing with questions. Where did the creature come from? Was it a new species? How did it end up in Yellowstone? The next morning, I woke up to find the creature was gone. I searched the area around my tent, but there was no sign of it. I spent the next few days looking for it, but it was nowhere to be found. As I was packing up my gear to leave, I noticed a strange symbol etched into the ground next to my tent. It looked like a circle with a cross inside. I had never seen anything like it before. When I got back to civilization, I showed the pictures I had taken to a local expert on paranormal activity. They were amazed at what they saw, and immediately recognized the symbol as belonging to a secret society that believed in the existence of otherworldly beings. As I was leaving their office, the expert called out to me. "Wait," they said, "there's something you should know." They handed me a newspaper article from the day before. The headline read, "New species of humanoid discovered in Yellowstone National Park." My heart sank as I read the article. It described a group of researchers who had found a new species of humanoid in the park. They had taken blood and tissue samples and were planning to take the creature back to their lab for further study. I realized that the creature I had befriended was not the only one of its kind in the park. It was just the only one I had seen. I felt a pang of guilt for not doing more to protect it. As I was leaving the expert's office, I noticed something strange. They had the same symbol etched into the floor of their office. I turned to ask them about it, but they were gone. That's when I realized the shocking truth. The creature I had met was not a random discovery. It was a part of something bigger, something that I wasn't supposed to know about. I felt a sense of dread wash over me as I realized that I had stumbled onto a secret that could put me in danger. I started to research the symbol and the secret society that the expert had mentioned. It was difficult to find any information, but eventually I came across a website that had been hidden deep in the dark web. The website claimed to have information on the society and their research on otherworldly beings. As I delved deeper into the website, I found evidence that the society was responsible for capturing and studying the humanoid creatures in Yellowstone. They believed that these creatures were the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe and were willing to do anything to get their hands on them. I knew I had to do something to stop them. I couldn't let these innocent creatures be taken and studied like lab rats. I decided to go back to Yellowstone and try to find the creatures again. I knew it was risky, but I had to try. When I arrived back in Yellowstone, I immediately headed to the area where I had met the creature. As I was searching, I heard voices in the distance. I cautiously made my way towards the sound and found a group of researchers with cages and nets. They were trying to capture the creatures. I knew I had to act fast. I grabbed a nearby rock and threw it at one of the researchers, causing them to drop their net. The creatures scattered, and I ran towards them, trying to lead them to safety. As I was running, I felt a sharp pain in my back. One of the researchers had caught up to me and had stabbed me with a tranquilizer dart. I collapsed to the ground, unable to move. The last thing I remember was being dragged into a nearby van and driven away. When I woke up, I was in a dark room with a single light bulb dangling from the ceiling. I was tied to a chair, and the only sound I could hear was the hum of machinery in the distance. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw the silhouette of a man walking towards me. He was wearing a lab coat and had a clipboard in his hand. "Welcome to our facility," he said. "We've been expecting you." I tried to struggle against my restraints, but they were too tight. The man continued, "You see, we can't have people running around spreading information about our research. You know too much." I knew I was in trouble. I had to find a way out. The man walked closer and whispered in my ear, "But don't worry, you won't be awake for long." That's when I saw the shocking twist. The man's face started to morph and shift, becoming more and more animalistic. His eyes turned yellow and his teeth grew into sharp fangs. I realized that the man was not a man at all. He was one of the humanoid creatures that I had been trying to save. He leaned in closer, and his breath was hot against my face. "Welcome to our world," he said with a smile before sinking his fangs into my neck. Everything went dark, and I knew I was done for. The next day, the local news reported that a hiker had gone missing in Yellowstone National Park. They searched for days but were unable to find any trace of me. It was as if I had disappeared into thin air. But little did they know I was still out there, somewhere in the park, living amongst the creatures I had tried to save. I had become one of them, and I would do whatever it took to protect my new family. I had always been an adventurous person, seeking out new experiences and thrills wherever I could find them. That's what led me to Yosemite National Park, with its stunning scenery and endless trails to explore. But what I found there was something I never could have expected. As I hiked deep into the park, I heard a strange noise coming from somewhere ahead of me. It sounded like a cross between a howl and a growl, and it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should turn back, but my curiosity got the better of me. I had to know what was making that sound. I followed the noise until I came to a small clearing where I saw something that I still can't explain. It was a creature that looked like a cross between a man and a dog, with shaggy brown fur and piercing yellow eyes. It stood on its hind legs and towered over me, emitting a low growl that sent a shiver down my spine. I froze in terror, unsure of what to do next. The creature seemed to be sizing me up, deciding whether I was a threat or not. I knew that I was in danger, but I couldn't bring myself to move. Suddenly, the creature lunged at me, teeth bared and claws outstretched. I dodged out of the way just in time, scrambling backwards until I was out of range. The creature circled me, growling and snarling as if it were trying to decide whether to attack again. But just as quickly as it had appeared, the creature was gone, vanishing into the woods as if it had never been there at all. I was left alone, shaken and confused by what I had just witnessed. I stumbled back to my campsite, unsure of how to process what I had just seen. I told myself that it must have been a bear or some other wild animal, but I knew deep down that it was something else entirely. Days turned into weeks, and I couldn't shake the memory of the creature from my mind. I searched the internet for any information I could find about it, but there was nothing. It was as if the creature had never existed, as if I had imagined the whole thing. But then, one night, I heard the howling again. This time, it was louder and more insistent than before, as if it were calling out to me. I knew that I had to follow it, no matter the danger. I followed the howling deep into the woods until I came to a cave that I had never seen before. The howling was coming from inside the cave, and I knew that I had to go in. As I crept deeper into the cave, I saw movement in the shadows. The creature emerged from the darkness, snarling and growling as if it were protecting something. And then I saw it, a small litter of puppies, all with the same shaggy fur and piercing yellow eyes as the creature. I realized then that the creature wasn't a monster, but a mother. She was protecting her young, just as any mother would. And suddenly, the fear and confusion that had consumed me for weeks melted away. I saw the creature for what it truly was, a part of the natural world, a creature that deserved respect and protection. As I left the cave, I knew that my life would never be the same. I had witnessed something truly extraordinary, something that few people would ever experience. I returned to my campsite, my mind racing with questions and thoughts about what I had just experienced. How could a creature like this exist? And why had I never heard of it before? Was it a one-of-a-kind anomaly, or were there others like it out there in the wilderness? I spent the next few days exploring the park with renewed energy and a new perspective. Everywhere I went, I kept an eye out for any signs of the creature or its kin. I talked to other hikers and campers, but no one had ever seen anything like what I had encountered. And then, on my final day in the park, I saw it again. This time it wasn't alone. There were 3 of them, all with the same shaggy fur and piercing yellow eyes. They moved together in a pack, hunting and foraging in the forest. I followed them from a distance, my heart pounding with excitement and a touch of fear. I watched as they interacted with each other, communicating in ways that were both familiar and alien to me. I marveled at their strength and agility, their ability to move through the forest with grace and power. And then, something happened that I never could have predicted. One of the creatures turned and looked directly at me. Its yellow eyes seemed to bore into my soul, as if it were trying to communicate with me in some way. And then, in a flash, everything changed. The creature morphed, its fur receding and its body changing shape until it was no longer a dog-like creature, but something much more familiar. It was a man. I stumbled back, my mind reeling with confusion and disbelief. How could this be possible? Was it some kind of hallucination or trick of the light? But as I watched, the other 2 creatures changed as well, transforming into men right before my eyes. They were all clad in tattered clothes, their faces scarred and weathered by years of living in the wilderness. They approached me, their expressions unreadable. I was terrified, unsure of what they wanted or what they were capable of. But then one of them spoke. "We have been watching you," he said, his voice gruff and deep. "We know that you mean us no harm, but you must keep our secret. If anyone were to find out about us, it would be the end of us all." I nodded, too stunned to speak. The 3 men disappeared into the forest, leaving me alone with my thoughts and a newfound sense of wonder and amazement. I left the park that day, knowing that I had experienced something truly extraordinary. I had encountered a creature that defied explanation, a creature that was both wild and human, both animal and sentient being, and I knew that I would never forget it.